Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's boating industry webinar on how to boost your dealership success with lead-driving digital tools. My name is David G. I'm the content director and editor-in-chief at Boating Industry, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar. Today's webinar is presented by DealerSpike, an all-in-one website provider for dealerships in 8 industries, including, of course, marine and recreational boating. The company provides powerful and distinctive web solutions and a suite of online tools to thousands of dealers worldwide. DealerSpike's expertise comes from real-world dealership experience and a passion for listening and responding to their customer dealers' needs. Our speaker for today's session, there he is, Tom McHugh, Sales Manager for DealerSpike. Before I hand things over to him, though, I'd like to remind you that if you have any questions during the webinar, please submit them using the chat function, and we will take those at the end of the session. Also like to remind you that a recording of today's webinar will be available on the Boating Industry YouTube channel. Look for that in about a day or so. And with that, we'll hand things over to Tom. Welcome, Tom.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Today's webinar overview, and really just what we wanted to go over on this webinar, is the changing landscape of 2020. This has been an interesting year, but it gave us an opportunity to really go and gather a bunch of statistics and do a lot of research on what has changed this year, what is the landscape of our selling going to look like next year going into 2020. And we wanted to go over just what are the best practices for your websites. Right now, your website is becoming more and more important than ever, and it needs to become more and more powerful than ever. So what are dealerships doing right now to boost their online showrooms, to boost sales, to boost traffic, and how can you improve your digital communication? At the end of this, we'll go over a recap, really make sure that you're leaving this webinar with some best practices to take home, and then we'll do a little Q&A at the end just to answer any questions that we might have stirred up for you guys. So looking at 2020 and today's consumer landscape, really positive signs for e-commerce growth. In the previous years, as we have tracked this, we saw pretty steady growth, about 1% every single year. You would get a lot of inquiries from dealerships saying, hey, we want to look at e-commerce. We hear that it's swinging in the right direction. And more dealers were starting to sell t-shirts, sell parts, sell cataloged information online. In the last 3 months, we saw a 15 to 25% growth. And I'm sure you in your own personal lives have felt it, where we are now going online to buy things instead of going into stores as much. This landscape has changed drastically, and I'm sure next year could be a little bit different, but these trends are not going to just reverse themselves. It's going to be, hard to get people from the comfort of their computer back into retail. So this is not a trend that we want to ignore. It's something we want to take advantage of. Since the pandemic hit in March, we saw a huge increase in website visits, and our dealers got a giant lead increase from that, almost 60% year over year increase in incoming leads. So there is a huge opportunity for us to go and capture more traffic and more leads than we've seen in previous years leading up to this. So we want to take a look at, what does the online customer sales journey look like? When they're doing research, when you're at home, when you're on your laptop or your tablet nowadays, or your cell phone, that's when you're going to be looking into brands and doing research and finding, what category really fits what I'm looking for. Once you've just, determined that and done a little research, your very next step is going to be a dealer website. So we really want to make sure that your website is a visual representation of your brick and mortar and is the best view that they could see on that first impression. Finding somebody from a dealer locator, you really see a lot of clicks of backing out and looking for a different dealer, and a lot of that is just representative of what are they seeing initially. It's the eye test. So we want to make sure your website passes that eye test and really gives the comfort on all devices. One stat that we've seen is when you're looking at inventory, let's say we have 100 pieces of inventory here, the pieces of inventory that have 6 to 10 custom photos that are not just stock photos uploaded by the manufacturer, that are actually taken out on your lot, those pieces of inventory are 349% more likely to get clicked on. You're getting 349% more page views on those type of inventory listings compared to the ones that just have a stock image. So you're really, if you're getting a huge increase in traffic and things like that this year, we need to make sure our inventory is sticky enough to keep them here, is looking good enough and passing that eye test to get them to submit a lead and actually become a sale. And the last part of the sales journey here is really how are we communicating once the lead's submitted or once the research is done. And 90% of dealership customers, they want more than one option. They want to be able to call, email, chat, text. There needs to be more than one communication available for your customers. Why do your websites need to rank highly on Google? This is more important than ever too, because so much traffic is being sent to Google right now and to search engines that if you're on page 2 or 3, you might have missed the entire surge that everyone else was feeling this year. So when we say traffic is up, searching is just going through the roof. There's more searching being done at nighttime right now for, toys that are domestic and things like that. um, we really want to make sure that if you're on page 3 and 4, you've got a plan to get to page 1. Because even if there's more searching being done, that doesn't mean the trends of us going deep into Google are changing. We're not going 10 pages deep looking at 30 different dealerships before we make a decision. It's usually there's 3 that I see in the top fold, I'm going to pick one of these. So it is very important that you are taking your Google rankings seriously, but also that you're monitoring it and getting, a doctor's checkup, if you will, and really getting a report on how am I doing and making sure that you're, compatible in all of the major search engines too, not just Google. Google's the one I always refer to, but really making sure that any type of browser that you could be pulled up on, you're ranking well. So like I was saying, making sure that your current performance, using a provider like ourselves, Dealer Spike, and there's other ones out there that can get on and do an audit on your website and just make sure, are you doing everything that you can? Um, Here's a few things that I listed out that are really eye-opening. A lot of people don't know this, but if you spend money on search engine optimization and you're doing everything that you think you should, but you have really bad reviews, that can hurt your reputation as well. That can start limiting your ability to be on the very top spot on Google. Google is wanting us to not only, promote the right technology and use the best practices, but it also wants to make customers happy. So if they see, wow, your dealership is on average a 1-star rating, that's going to hurt your rankings on Google as well. They're not going to be as eager to promote you. Making sure that your business listings are all accurate. A lot of businesses that we switch over, we'll go through and we'll run an audit and we'll find out, wow, you've got on this browser, you've got this address and this phone number, and that's not matching up to the one we put on your website. So just making sure that all of the business listings out there where you could be found are up to date. Any discrepancies, that can really hurt you. Website content. This is very important. One thing that Dealer Spike really recommends is updating your website, whether it be a redesign or even just picking a new provider sometimes is important. When you're looking at your website, if you haven't updated it in the last 5 years, and by updated, I mean almost blow it up and start from scratch. We're rebuilding in keywords. We're going to make sure that every piece of inventory has keywords, has city and state, has a nice site map that Google can read. Just making sure that you really are doing everything you can on your website, doing some blogging, doing newsletters. All of these things can really tie in, but these are all things to be proactive about, but you also just don't want to sit. You want to make sure that if you have, maybe let some of this fall by the wayside, that you're reaching out to get a redesign and you're doing everything you can. And I recommend, if not every year, every 2 years is a really good time period for you to go where you'll need to get in there and redesign your website. One other thing when I say redesign your website is just making sure that it's designed mobile out. So is it really good on a cell phone? Things like that. Some of the things you want to look for too are we using prominent lead forms? If you have a beautiful website, you're able to navigate it and you get to the piece of inventory, but it's not jumping out at them, submit a lead, jump in here, uh, then we've missed a piece. We need to make sure that those are really, all the hard work we do to get you traffic and get them on your site, it all needs to finish with a lead being submitted. One other thing that we really encourage is having an easy finance app on your website, not just having financing, but having one that is easy, having one that is very secure, mobile responsive, something that gives the customer complete faith when they go to fill it out. A lot of people are getting more and more weary about filling something like this out online unless it says it's secure and is really, you know, checkboxing all of the things that we're starting to look for here. Using your events calendar and even just having events or any type of things that you're doing, getting that out there on your events calendar, on social media, very important, but it does also help your website. So it's not just about growing your brand. Having all of these things really work together and have synergy will keep your website content up to date. The biggest thing that we really want you to look at too, I mentioned this earlier, is mobile out. So as you can see in this picture here, seeing how easy that view is on the cell phone, hopefully it's not too small for you to see there, but it's a very easy representation of your website and it's very similar. You're not seeing a totally different one on your cell phone and then a totally different one on a tablet. They need to have that same look and feel so that hey, I'm at the place I feel comfortable. 85% of adults think that a company's website should be, when viewed on a mobile device, should be as good or even better than a desktop device. And in my opinion, when you say, better is an interesting word, I want it to be faster. I don't want to feel bogged down on my cell phone. When you've got a bunch of inventory, we shouldn't be having to do a bunch of scrolling through it or anything like that. ADA compliancy, this is something that has haunted some dealers, unfortunately. In the past couple of years, we've seen a rise in lawsuits of people getting on websites and saying, hey, this color scheme's wrong, or this is, in violation with ADA compliancy. And some dealerships have been hit really hard by this. So I think it's important to have a plan. There are a lot of great ADA companies out there that are very cheap add-ons you can put on your site. Dealer Spike, we partnered with one. If you have a website and they don't have a plan for ADA compliancy, I would be worried at this point. So it's definitely something to look into. I like to focus on results and how much, can we drive business and make money off our websites, but this is very important too. We need to make sure that we're not at risk of somebody coming after us. Some of these tools that you put on your website, it's almost just a deterrent where if somebody's out there and they're trying to get lawsuits to dealerships and they see, oh, you have an ADA symbol on your website, they think that's a harder battle and they'll go elsewhere. So there's a lot of different steps you could take for this, but the first step would be just make sure that your provider has a plan for it. See if they have a third party that they recommend or anything like that. Those are important steps to take this year. Does your website meet your shoppers' needs? So when we're building out these websites, it really is all about contact us, request a quote, chatting online, something that I can get a real quality lead to you. What we've seen in the past is that if you have blurry images, if you're just putting a bunch of ghosted inventory that just have a stock image, one picture is all, or it's blurry, you're not going to get a lot of leads off these. And if you have hundreds of vehicles and you're only showing a couple on your website, that's something we got to change right away, because it's like walking into a showroom and just seeing one piece of inventory and it's got dust on it. It's like, yeah, I don't know if I want this dealership to be the one that orders me the new one. They might have a beautiful showroom when it's full, but right now I'm just not getting that feel for it. So the online showroom, even if you're low on inventory, having your manufacturer showroom and things like that beefed up and just making sure that it looks like a beautiful showroom online, very important for building faith in a customer. Back to images, I really do think that this is becoming more and more of your competitive advantage. A lot of website providers, their offerings almost seem the same to a lot of people. So when you're picking a website provider, you'll go, down the lines, comparing, you'll find some tools that you like. But when I look at websites, I don't care what provider you're on. If you don't have good pictures, you're not doing your platform justice. You're not taking advantage of this website provider as much as you could be. So make sure you've got 6 to 10 photos on there, maybe even more if you can, depending on the piece of inventory you're selling. You might need more than that. I also really encourage, get out there with a video camcorder, cell phone, whatever you've got. Take a 360 walk around. Uploading videos or having 360 walk arounds on your website is is really the next step. And when we've seen consumers and where they, go, they're much more inclined to jump on a website that's got a 360 walk around or video. 75% of customers listed that the quality of the product image is the most important feature when shopping online. And I would agree with that. If you have a brand new piece of inventory with fuzzy images, it's really hard for me to get excited about this. 56% of shoppers would purchase from a 360 walk around product. This is, to me, a huge competitive advantage that you can have on your website. And when we've done heat map testing, we're seeing that people go to a video or they go to a walk around before they go to images. Images are great, but they've always been there. That's not the exciting new way to look at vehicles. One other extremely important thing to know about this is when dealerships were forced to close, there were a lot of dealerships who utilized this product, doing 360 walkarounds to really do the full demo. People were jumping in cars, FaceTiming, taking them on a test ride without the person there, saying, "Hey, here's what it's like. Here's what it sounds like in here," things like that. So, a 360 walkaround is just a little bit more advantageous than having 6 to 10 photos. So when we're looking at one of our inventory modules here, you can see the images button, and then you can see the 360 view tab. And when you click on one of them, I just got a quick video here that'll show you really the user experience and how this looks compared to just looking through 6 to 10 photos. You can grab it, you're in complete control of moving around the boat. And with a boat especially, there's some things I'll want to click in on. We call these hotspots. So all these little green buttons here, you can customize all of this, have areas that you're clicking right into. This is a much more interactive inventory module, and the feedback we're getting from customers is just phenomenal. This is if someone fills out one of these after seeing it, I believe in my heart that the sales process has just shrunk dramatically. When I've done this in my personal life and I get to a dealership to go purchase it, they're like, "Hey, let's walk you through this," and you still do it, but you feel like I'm already an expert. I've already been all around this inventory piece and seen it. So, very exciting thing to have on your website right there. How do dealers feel about the 360 images? We've got a bunch of reviews so far. The 360 degree image tool is intuitive, easy to use on a smartphone, and I'll back that up. I downloaded it myself and just took a quick walk around of my truck, and it took me about 2 minutes, and it looked professional. It looked like I was able to put this on a car dealership's website right away. So very easy to use technology. Um, One of the biggest things that was a challenge this year for our dealers was being able to communicate. So chat tools was a very important part. We had dealers coming to us a lot this year saying, "How do we stay in touch with people? What chat tools do you prefer?" So I wanted to have a few slides in here on that, just to let you know how important chat is becoming. A lot of people are getting to dealership websites right now, and instead of calling right away, they're going to chat first. If they don't see the chat, then they'll call, but they're defaulting to chat first. It's a great way to schedule appointments and things like that. 85% more likely to convert into customers after chatting with the business. So this can be that first step to really get them hooked. Standing out with online chat, more than 30% of customers are expecting you to have it. So could you imagine people are actually getting to your site, not seeing it and just leaving right away? That's not good at all. 62% of customers visiting your website are on a mobile device. So this, if I remember right from last year, it was more around 55%. It just keeps growing. I know a lot of people who don't even have laptops anymore. They've only got tablets and things like that. So it really is moving more towards mobile. And that's why I like to reiterate, building your website mobile, then tablet, then desktop is really going to benefit you. One stat we found too is only 9% of companies right now are using live chat. So there's a huge opportunity, especially in retail, to get in there right now. And again, it's all about giving a great customer experience. But if I can get a competitive advantage, that's great too. So 4 bullet points that I wanted to put in here are really, these are all covered by Dealer Spike's chat, but I'm sure there's other chats out there that do similar things to that. So I wanted to just kind of cover it in a broad things that you should look for. If you do not have a chat service, I would want one that I can get on here and schedule test rides with. That's the most important thing. I need people to pre-arrange chats with customers, being able to send invites and things like that. when you're on a chat system too, it needs to develop a lead. So some way of capturing who we're talking to, being able to communicate with multiple platforms. So email, texting is huge. A lot of the chat is utilized when the hours are closed. So at 8 p.m., I might want to jump on there, submit a lead, and say, hey, who can help me out tomorrow? And if you're able to text me back, wow, what a powerful experience that is. I'm not waiting around. I'm not just dealing with an autoresponder. Now, I don't expect you to have all your people working till 8 or 9 at night, but this is a great tool to just give them that personal experience. Easily transferring chats between departments, that's huge. If I'm on here chatting and I'm with sales, but I want service, I need you to have a way to transfer me and not get me lost. And then I think it's very important to be able to have some Facebook Messenger involved in this as well. Facebook, they are the go-to chat for a lot of people. So if you're able to have all of this really synergy together, you're gonna have a powerful tool. Some of the testimonials we've seen so far about our live chat and text, offering our customers live chat has led to converting a lead into a sale. Adding the text live chat above the widget has prompted website visits to our visitors to use this tool, and the SMS functionality is useful to have for our busy sales team. So I know that texting is going to be huge, but I really don't like people just texting via their phone. I want it to be in a tool where I can grab that info, grab it with CRM, things like that, and really not leave it, just in my employee's cell phone to be texting. So a quick recap of everything that I've gone through. I really just hope that you are understanding the changing atmosphere of 2020. It's actually been pretty positive for dealerships and for online websites. Our company has really seen great results throughout this entire year. I know there's been some issues with getting inventory and keeping enough inventory to sell. All problems that I hope are addressed very shortly, but those are the issues that we'd rather run into than, hey, we can't get people to come in and buy. So I think there's a great opportunity for you to make sure that your website next year is getting maybe record traffic, record leads, but you do need to make sure, is your website the best for your customers to be able to find? Are you doing everything you can to make sure they can find you? Is it user friendly? Does it have enough call to action buttons? And are you doing enough with images? Are you doing enough with 360 walkarounds? Are we trying to give ourselves a competitive advantage over a dealership that might be down the road from us? And then engaging online with customers via chat, via at least 2 different ways, I think is going to be very important going into next year. So that's a quick recap of what Dealer Spikes come up with here. The biggest thing we want to help you with is let's get to selling. Going into next year, this is a great time to redesign websites and get your entire budget and plan ready for next year. So I hope this was very informative and helpful for all of you.
No, nice job, Tom. Very succinct and very informative. Well, do have a couple of questions that have come in, and again, you can use the chat function if you'd like to ask a question, or you can just get in touch with Tom directly. You talked about custom versus stock images on dealers' websites. Again, I think I know what you're talking about, but could you just explain a little further the distinction between those two?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things we want to point out with custom image is the ability to not just use catalog images, the white backgrounds, having it look like a real photo, either taken in your parking lot or taken at a dealership, and then take it a next step further if your provider allows it and have a watermark on there. Really have a stamp on each image that you upload there, have a phone number of a sales rep and things like that. Those are the type of images we want compared to just the ones that come over from a manufacturer.
And I like to, just kind of further that thought. I mean, it's kind of the distinction between a boat like this, similar, or this boat. If you
Exactly.
like this boat right now, come in, equipped like this in these colors with this interior, this, gel coat or colorway, come in and buy it because this boat is for sale. So I like that.
It's
I like that.
exactly right. And those leads we see are just way more qualified. They convert to sales compared to the leads you do get on a stock image one. Those are usually just, oh, I'm inquiring about this brand type thing.
Yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, I like that. We hear all the time about e-commerce. I mean, Amazon is in every news story of every day, it seems like. So obviously, we know lots of people are buying lots of things online today. In fact, many dealers in our audience might even, sell water sports gear and life jackets and boat parts through an e-commerce platform. But boats, that's a pretty big ticket item to buy online. Do you see where are we with e-commerce and boats?
I think that there's an opportunity for us to be selling full boats online. Absolutely. It's still not something that is quite ready for the masses, if you will. Sending boats around the country and things like that are a little bit more difficult, but selling to your immediate market, absolutely. I think the only thing really holding us back right now would be point of sale systems and things like that, being able to grab all of that huge payment online. But having a solution that gets pretty much 90% of that done to the point where they just show up and are signing that document, that's the future. I really don't think that looking at, especially post pandemic, I don't think people want to spend 2 or 3 hours at a dealership. They want to come in, spend 20 or 30 minutes and get out of there. So we want to have that solution that can get almost all of it done. I love what you said about life jackets and stuff like that. All of that should be purchased right online. Keep them from going to Amazon. People love buying local right now. So having that complete solution is going to be very important. And I think we're going to build to the extreme of we are selling a boat without even meeting you, and this thing's getting dropped off right to your driveway type thing. It's not here yet, but we're moving closer and closer to that.
Yeah, in fact, we know anecdotally that some dealers, in fact, did adopt the touchless method, kind of forced to through coronavirus. So,
Yep.
Sometimes necessity is indeed the mother of invention, and it probably furthered that process a little bit. But
Yep.
one more question that we have from a listener. Could you detail, Tom, a little more about communication preferences for customers? And I'll add my little note in here. Maybe it's a generational thing. I know my dad would probably prefer a phone call from a salesperson. I'd rather have an email, and my
Yep.
son wouldn't respond to anything other than a text. So
Yep.
how do we manage all of those different preferences for different age groups?
I think having the options for all three of those is important, but it all comes back to what are we going to do with this data once we've got it? So if you're in an area where your emails and your texting and your chats are not being captured by CRM and aren't being stored somewhere, then it's almost all for naught. So I really do think it's important to find a solution that gives you the flexibility, like you said, to hit every one of those generations, and just having a nice solution to tie it all back is the real key to that. And don't
I'd
forget
like
about
to
Facebook.
ask
I
a
think
question.
Facebook, unfortunately, I'm not a big Facebook guy, but
Yeah.
that is a big area of opportunity for people to be able to chat and just grow their community strength there.
Yeah, Tom, I'd like to, I'm kind of fascinated with the whole ADA compliance. I have to admit that that whole subject, that whole topic had kind of passed me by. I wasn't really keeping track of the ADA compliant website. Certainly I knew about it, with physical facilities and in
Yeah.
locations, but at Elevate last year, Dealer Spike, your booth happened to be right next to Boating Industries, and I struck up a conversation and was talking about some of the pain points of dealers today, and we talked about ADA compliance when you were talking here. I just Googled a couple things. Last year there were 11,000 lawsuits filed in federal court
Yeah.
for ADA for non-ADA compliant websites, not for physical facilities, but 11,000 website lawsuits, and some of those had some pretty big judgments. And
Yep.
but it's not. I want to add something else, and I'll give you a chance to respond. It's not just a matter of being compliant with the law. I see that the Centers for Disease Control says that about a quarter of the American adult population has some type of legal disability, and they have an estimated $645 billion in annual disposable income. So it's not just a question of abiding by the law, but it's a question of trying to reach customers that might want to spend some money at your place.
It's very true. I mean, we want to make sure you're compliant, but I mean, being able to sell some of this with the read-only options, having your website, if you're visually impaired, having it be able to read everything to you accurately. That's an important experience. And I couldn't imagine being on the other end of it where a website is not doing it properly and giving me the wrong numbers and just confusing the heck out of me. So I really see both sides of it. And I think that this is something that dealerships are very familiar with. We need to have the handicap parking spots in our parking lot. We understand that. Nobody fights that. This is the exact same movement as that, but for your website. So it can be as simple as, hey, make sure you've got some handicap parking on your website type thing. That's the visual I like to share with people. And if you don't have that, why haven't we looked into it? It's very affordable. It's something that would protect you. And like you said, it could open up a whole different opportunity of people who were not able to shop before who would love to.
Well, thank you so much, Tom. I'm not seeing any more questions come through, so we will go ahead and wrap things up. Don't forget, if you would like to access this webinar, the recording will be available soon on Boating Industry's YouTube channel. And for more information on DealerSpike, all you have to do is go to www.dealerspike.com. You can use /marine if you'd like to specifically go to the boat dealer section. And, they can help you out if you want to have a conversation with Tom. I know he would certainly be happy to do that. So thank you once again, Tom, for presenting today. We really enjoyed it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. And if anyone has any follow-up questions, or right now, my company, we love spending time with dealers and just taking them through what we call a health checkup. So if you need to, take your website to the doctors and get a health checkup, give DealerSpike a call. We'd love to help out with that.
End of the year checkup for your website. I like it. Thank you, Tom, and thank you to DealerSpike for presenting today, and thanks to you for attending. I'm David G., Content Director and Editor-in-Chief at Boating Industry. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you on the water. So long, everyone. Happy holidays.